Next thing you know, it's just machine, like, incoming again. That was my first time actually shooting back. Ran to the front, machine guns are going out. They were fighting ghosts. That's what I think that's the best, one of the best way to say it, because man, sometimes you just don't see them. My name is Terry Kim. I served with the United States Marine Corps from 2004 to 2008. Got out as a corporal. I'm born and raised in Queens, New York. I didn't grow up rich. You know, it's just typical low-income family with a brother and two sisters. It's four of us. I went to private school. From kindergarten to 8th grade, I was in private school, Catholic school. Once I went to high school, I went to this school called LaGuardia High School in New York City. It's supposed to be specialized as an art school. You had to audition to get into it. So I do art, so I know how to draw. Went there for 4 years, you know, but you know, going from Catholic school to public school and living in New York City, I was in Catholic school for what, 8, 9 years of my from elementary to junior high. And I was always struck down, like it was always strict. It wasn't a big school, so everybody knew if you didn't arrive, you know, there was no way of cutting or anything like that. But once I went out into public school, into Manhattan, into New York City, that's when I was like, holy shit, it's the world. People were cutting. And I got kind of like, I never liked school, you know, education. I just wanted to have fun. So that was my 4 years of high school. As much as my high school was fun in itself, because there was a lot of art. And it was very artsy, you know, a lot of cool kids, very talented. I think Nicki Minaj went to my school. A lot of famous people went to my school that was from New York. It's right across from Juilliard. I don't know if you know Juilliard, but Juilliard and Lincoln Center. It's like where all the arts is, Upper West Side. You hang out with the wrong crew. I don't want to say wrong, but you hang out with certain people, and you know, I just like cutting. That was my 4 years of cutting. 4 years of high school was just like basically cutting and just having fun, experiencing like New York City as a teenager. Man, we would just drink, smoke cigarettes, you know, go to someone's house, anything but school. So we would even walk from, like, we're in the Upper West Side, we would walk down to Chinatown or Little Italy, and there will be like cafes where they serve, you know, we were like 18, 17 maybe, 16 even, and they would serve us beer, and we just let us hang out there. Because we're just trying to avoid truancy, you know, police, because they'll pick us up and then, you know, they'll call our parents or whatever. That was like my high school experience. And then that's when, you know, it was senior year, still managed to graduate high school. My brother was a Marine. My brother is a Marine, you know, during that time. It was right after 9/11, and he joined the Marine Corps. I wanted to join the Marines too, but I also wanted to go to college because that's like the thing to do. But I also wanted to join the Marines. And if I didn't get into this one school, which is like an easy school to get in, I would think, I don't know, but it's Baruch for business. I didn't even know it was just like what everybody was doing. I had no real plan. That's when I said, if I don't get in, then I'm gonna join the Marines. So that's how I got into, you know, joining the Marines. Just follow my brother. I just loved the military, like since I was a kid, like G.I. Joe. I loved the engineering of guns and just tanks, you know, just boy shit, you know. Yeah, my recruiting experience was easy, well, interesting, I should say. So right after I finished school, or near the end of finishing school, I got into trouble. We got in a fight, you know, and my group of friends versus some random kids. We ended up me and my other buddy got charged for a robbery. It wasn't robbery. The kid lost his jacket during the fight, and they charged us for robbery. It wasn't a robbery though. It's fucking bullshit, you know. The kid lied, but all his friends scattered. Me and my friend and my other friends, they all left, but except for me and my other buddy, just because it was nothing. It was just a regular fight to us, you know. And the cops came and they arrested us. So, you know, got into a little trouble with the law. The charges got dropped. But at that time, I was just in the Poolee program at the same time. So my Marine recruiter would come to my court cases with me. I was just you know, that was just a bad timing, you know. It wasn't like, I fought a lot though. I did fight a lot. It's just the nature of the beast, I guess. I fought, I got hit a lot, you know. I never backed down. I got in the fight when I was already in the Poolee program. And right before I got into the fight, I was just like, I was still in the Puli program, but I had this one staff sergeant, I believe his name was Staff Sergeant Wallace. It's like this big black dude, you know, it's cool. He was like, man, you looked up, like the way he carried himself. He was a Marine. One day he was driving, he had a daughter, I believe he was divorced, and he was driving from Virginia back to New York. And I think he fell asleep at the wheel. And his daughter was in the back seat, and he smashed into another car, and he flew out the window at the front windshield. I'm not even in the Marines yet, and my recruiter, you know, I fucked up. Most people who were in the Puli program had like months before they left. I was already signed, like, you know, I signed right away. Yeah, I signed right away. I knew this was what I was going to do. There's no me waiting. I wanted to leave as soon as possible. It's interesting because the head recruiter, the gunny that was at that recruiting station, was friends with my dad's friend. I know so many people were telling me, oh, you got to pick your job. You got to pick your job, right? You got to make sure it's in the contract. I felt like, you know, they weren't going to give it to me. Well, first of all, I wanted to be infantry. And my brother and my dad advised me not to, you know. Naturally, they were looking out for, you know, they're scared, right, for me. Especially we're at a time of war. But that's what I wanted to do. I remember this saying, you know, years later, I was like, never again will I listen to anybody. But I guess that did save my life, because maybe, who knows what would have happened. So I wanted to be an MP. But I had no idea, and they were like saying that's garbage. Not to say MPs are garbage, but it's the job sucks, you know. But then what else is there to do? I love guns. I love the engineering of it. So there was an armory, like a small arms repair technician, and that's what I wanted to do. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll fix guns, whatever. So I signed up for that. The gunny made sure that I got that job. And I also, you know, I was also told by other Marines to get 3rd Battalion in Parris Island. It's like the hardest battalion, so I made sure that was in my contract. And all that went through well because the gunny was friends with my dad's friend, you know. And one day, I had lunch with that gunny, my dad, and my dad's friend. And, you know, they kind of persuaded him into making sure I got what I wanted. They're known in Queens, in the Asian community and Korean community, to be on, like, you know, on the tougher side. And so I got what I wanted. However, the next time I went to a Puli meeting during training, we got killed because the gunny didn't like that. You know what I mean? We got killed. He worked us out. And he's like, let's thank Kim for today's training. But I got what I wanted, you know. I knew it, like, you know, but I didn't say anything, but my brother knew, and he just told my dad, make sure, you know, I get what I want. The one thing that I remember about leaving for boot camp, I mean, I was pumped, you know, but it's weird, right? Because they come and pick you up at 3 a.m. or something like that. And I hugged my mom, my sister was at home, my brother's already I think he was in Iraq at that time. I hugged my dad. He's like this, you know, he's a big dude. The one thing he said to me was, don't get tattoos. And that's why I don't have a tattoo to this day. My parents are very lenient, but also strict at the same time with standards, you know. My dad grew up a hard life too, from Korea, and, you know, he believed, like, you know, military, every man has to go to the military. He was proud as much as he was sad to see me leave and have his other son, his firstborn son, at war, and then sending off his you know, his last son. So he didn't show any tears or anything, but you know, he was proud. You know, he's also a black belt in, you know, it's like a 4th degree black belt. I don't know, to Taekwondo too. So he made sure me, my brother, and my sister, we all got our black belts before we quit. You know, it's like, you could do whatever you want after, but you just got to get your black belt. That really toughened us up too, you know, because my sister joined the Navy too afterwards. And so my brother, me, and my sister, were military. Going to boot camp was interesting. I I didn't. I mean, I could see other people were like nervous. In the beginning, it wasn't such a shock because I just follow orders. I went from New York to, I believe it was South Carolina. I forgot which airport, and they made us stand there, just in quiet for I don't know how long. I think it was like I don't know. It felt a long time. That was my shoulders were just killing me. I just remember that, and just had to be quiet, just stand there. It was weird, getting off the bus. Then it was getting a little exciting. I'm like, all right, finally, fuck, we're here already. Let's start this. And that's how my mentality was. Let's do this. And the yellow footprints. But I still kept it serious, but in my mind I would talk to myself like, oh, yellow footprints, oh, this is interesting, oh, this is so cool, look at this motherfucker yelling at us, But I would just talk to myself like that, because I couldn't talk to anybody, so I needed to talk to somebody. And I told you I talk a lot, so I would talk to myself and just see and observe all these things that are going on and how other people's expressions were. I could see some kids were just like very scared, and then we would have to make the phone call home. And when it was my turn, so when you make the phone call, you have to read the script. This is recruit Kim. I made it safe to, Paris Island. Please do not send me, X, Y, whatever. I will contact you, whatever, right? Whatever the script said. It's like a short, brief message. So it was like three. I forgot. It was like in the middle of the night, and my sister picks up, and I would say it, and I would be like, love you. One thing that always comes to my mind during boot camp was, not everybody got hit, but I got, it felt like a punch. It knocked me pretty good, but my DI, it wasn't nothing personal. It wasn't personal. We were just all moving like cattle. He's like, blah, 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 blah. It's not that I got close. Everybody was like around him, trying to pass by him, getting from point A to point B, telling us to move. And for some reason, he just picked me and said, 1 arm's distance. And just knocked me to the ground. I could see that in his face that I don't think he meant to hit me as hard, because I saw his face saying like, oh, fuck, But I just got back up and I said, and just went around him, That's always hit me, but because I don't think drill instructors hate the recruits, it's nothing personal. It really isn't. So maybe some are, because the bad ones, they'll take it personal. They might hate a recruit. Might hate them more, but for the most part, my DIs were fucking awesome, man. I was hungry all the time. I was just the being away from home didn't matter. The scrub brushing is probably the most that is burned in my brain. The burning of my thighs, scrub brush going from point A. Yes, scrub brush, man. They're on a set schedule. And when you have time, they'll just fuck with you, or it's actually in their schedule to fuck with you, and they'll make you dump water, soapy water, all over the squad bay, and it's like it's just a pool of water all over on the squad bay floor. You have a brush, it's like a horse brush, right, horsehair brush, and you grab that and you go from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. And they'll count down. 10, all right, get from here to the end. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You'll never make it. You gotta, and then they'll stress you out like that. So they'll make one person's always kind of straggling, because it gets tiring the more you do it, because you're not reaching that time. But you'll never make the time. That's the point. It's to stress you out. People are bitching at each other like, hurry the fuck up, and it's just chaos. And you just got a pool of water. You're just all wet. But by this time, everything's burning, but it's making you stronger. You don't know that, it's stressing you out. But you do this, a few times a week, and it's just building you up for the next 3 months. That's what scrub brushing is, man. The scrub brush. Our brush at the end would look like, like it exploded, because we're just brushing so much. As much as the training, the torture is very relevant. What my teacher had, Staff Sergeant Thomas, he carried himself like you wanted to be like him. He was funny. How they're just fucking hilarious, but with a straight face. He would tell us humans are naturally lazy. That's why we slouch. We're always trying to conserve energy. So he would explain these kind of things. He was good. Like, and those teachings. I mean, I could tell you so many, but it's basically trying to get rid of what civilian society has instilled in us. They need to erase all that. And I think Marine Corps boot camp they're very smart at that tactic, and a lot of people don't understand that. And that's why, you know, one thing I can say is when veterans, when they get out of the Marine Corps, especially the Marines, they go right back to being a nasty civilian. And it's kind of sad to see that, because man, you trained so hard in those few months and became this super being, clean, you know, no smoking, no drinking, no sugar. They knew exactly what they're doing since a long time ago. And if we instill that kind of mentality into today's society, I think we'll be better off. I mean, but obviously, you know, it's just not doable. I went to armory school in Maryland, okay, and at, you know, it was cool. It was an army base. At the end of it, that's when they tell you where you're gonna go. You know, like, you know, Gonzales, Cuba, you know, Guantanamo Bay. And I was like, holy, because armorers go everywhere. Wherever there's guns, we go. So we could have gone anywhere. And I was hoping I was gonna go to Hawaii, or at least Pendleton. That's where my brother was. So I was like, all right, West Coast. So I picked West Coast. My other Marine buddy a childhood friend, he was a reservist, and he went to comm school in 29 Palms. And he would tell me, whatever you do, don't go to 29 Palms. It's a shithole, you know, it's just the middle of the desert in the West. I was like, didn't even know what 29, you know, it didn't really hit me. And then there was, during that time after armory school at the end, they were like, Kim, 29 Palms. I'm like, sounds very familiar. Fuck. I'm like, fuck, that's the place. It's the middle, I'm like, you know what 29 Palms is? Like, yeah, it's a desert, you know? I'm like, fuck. So I went to my staff sergeant. After everybody, you know, went to the school staff sergeant, and he was like, I was like, Staff Sergeant, is there any way I change my location, change my unit? He's like, why? It's like, where you got? And he looked at it, it's like 29 Palms. What do you know, why don't you like 29? He's like, let me tell you something, Kim. 29 Palms is the secret of the Marine Corps. He said, you're gonna love it. I don't know if he was, you know, but I believed him. I believed him. I said, Staff Sergeant, and I left. And I did. I loved 29 Palms. Maybe because I didn't know any better, but I've been to Pendleton, I've been to Okinawa, and 29 Palms is the shit. So I was assigned with 311, 3rd Battalion, 11th Marines, artillery unit. Nobody picked me up from the airport. I flew into Palm Springs, and nobody was there to pick me up. I went to the USO. I didn't know any better. I left, you know? But my unit was in the field, that's why. From Palm Springs to 29 Palms, you have to take like 3 or 4 buses. So I landed in the morning and didn't arrive to base till, it was like, I believe it was like 8 or 9 p.m. It took me, and I'm in my Alphas with 2 sea bags. When I got there, I got off the bus on base and had just two sea bags, this freaking boot. I got off the bus in front of a Walmart, and I'm just sitting at the bus stop with 2 sea bags. Guy in a pickup truck came. He's like, where are you going? It's like 29 Palms, and he was a Marine, you know, obviously in civvies. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, are you new? You know, he's just asking me. I'm like, yeah, you know, this and that. I didn't even like ask for ID. I just knew he was a Marine, and he was like, oh, get the fuck in, you know. And I put my sea bags in the back, and he drove me into base. It was like, you know, a 20-minute drive from Walmart to. I was like, where's 311? He's like, I have no idea. He should be, you know, he was trying to help me, but he also had to go. I got my sea bags, and I'm looking for 311. I finally found it. Checked in. The unit was in the field. And the officer was like, "Hey, yeah." Totally not what I expected, because you know when you check in, you gotta report, you know, like, and I did, but the response from the officer was like, all right, yeah, I don't know what to put you. You know, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, but that was my experience with the Marine Corps. I was like, holy shit, this is fucking crazy. So ever since I was a PFC, when I checked in my unit, I had my own room. I had maybe a roommate once or twice for like a short period of time, But I always had my own room, and it was pretty convenient. My life was all right, you know. My staff sergeant, love that guy. I still talk to him till this day. I remember, you know, he came back from the field, you know, with parade vest. He would be like, "Hey, can you someone tell Kim stop being parade vest before I punch?" You know, like he didn't demand respect. We gave respect. He was like one of those guys. Like you gave respect regardless, because he's such a good guy. He was a good Marine and respectable, a lot of wisdom. Mexican guy, Echeverria. He didn't have the upbringing in the Marine Corps that he wanted it from his staff sergeant. So he was smart enough to do that for me. So he would send me like to trainings that, you know, that he never got to do. That's why I went to Sears. Well, Sears level B, like up north in Bridgeport, California, and the survival training, semi-tow. Like he would try to do as much stuff for me, for my experience. Yeah, I went to Sears one time it was about a month long survival school, mountain survival. It'd take a 4-day class just on survival. So you pass that test, learn how to survive on plants and how to kill, trap, hunt, and then they put you to the test. They focus more on survival and evasion. I believe the Sears level A or C, whichever the one from they do in Coronado and stuff like that for the SEAL team, they focus more on evasion and resistance and evasion, escape. It was tough because we didn't eat. We just, for like, man, I don't know, 2 weeks, 17 days, something like that. I lost, I think, 10 pounds. One Marine got sick, like after just a few days, throwing up like yellow vomit, like acid probably, right? He had to get medevaced out from the mountains. And then another Marine, he quit. And that was a little disappointing. It's a little embarrassing. And we were like, your unit's gonna fuck you up. It was July 4th when we first went into the mountains to train. And I also got pinned. I got pinned, Lance Corporal. My first sergeant Schindler, he was the previous, he ran that Bridgeport. He ran it, so he had pull. He was also on like Discovery Channel. You would see him, you know, on the documentary. So we would do a formation, and Staff Sergeant came, and he's like, "Kim, you're getting pinned today, because if you don't, it's my ass. Your first sergeant sent us a fax. If we don't pin you today." So I was like, "Damn, first sergeant, you know, that's my first sergeant." That first sergeant Schindler, he actually he died from his parachute didn't open. He would skydive on the weekends, and his parachute didn't open. In our team, we had a sniper, a Marine sniper, and another corporal from Force Recon, you know, and everybody else, everybody else was infantry, except for me and Corporal Cole. We went as he was mortar T, and I was an armor. We were the only two. But first sergeant, again, he would like to send us to these things. They were even surprised to see us there. Like, what are you guys doing here, you know? But it was such a great experience, and you got to learn from even the sniper. He was a sergeant, I forgot his name, but he would teach us, because he'd been to Sears. He had to go to this course. Anyways, yeah, so you would learn how to break the neck of a rabbit in dire situation. You suck out the eyeballs. You can't cook it, and you throw out the body, whatever. It's just for that's last, if you're on the run and somehow you you actually caught a rabbit, you chop it and you break its neck. Rabbits have like a very similar scream that replicates a scream of a baby, a human infant. Being, a city boy, I learned how to skin a goat, We got 2 goats and we laid it down. Everybody sharpened their bayonets or their K-bars. Man, and we had to cut the goat's neck. Nobody sharpened it. And it was the craziest thing, because cutting a goat's neck with a dull knife, it's not pretty. And that goat fucking suffered. Our sergeant was like, nobody fucking sharpened their knife. And nobody had a sharp knife. But anyways, we drained it, put them upside down, and everybody took turns, got the experience to skin the goat and take out the guts. I had to take out the sack. You learn not to puncture any kind of, organs, like especially, shit will go everywhere and spoil the meat. I learned all that stuff. It's interesting. And then we all got a piece of the, everyone gets a piece of part of the goat, and you preserve it. You put it in a plastic bag. I kept mine and you keep it in the cold river, like a stream. And that was like, it kept it refrigerated. They'll send you out by yourself, and whatever you learn, you have to be out by yourself and kind of survive a night or two on your own. The school in itself is hazing. The hard, you don't get to eat. That's the biggest punishment to me. You could make somebody hungry, But after a while, in survival school, you don't eat for so long, and you're always constantly on the move. You lose your appetite, In boot camp, I was always hungry, but it's because they kept feeding us here and there, But if you don't eat for a long time, I was eating a lot of ants as my main source of food. I would eat a lot of ants and drink a lot of water. Chlorine, like we, put the little tablets in to purify the water. But most of my thing, what I ate the most was ants. There were plenty of them, black ants, and they taste like lemon tarts. You just kind of flick the head off, because if you don't flick the head, they'll just attach to your lip or something like that. But yeah, just flick the head off, and they're fun to eat. And they crawl right on top of you, and you just kind of eat them. Being a young Marine, I just wanted to go to Iraq. That was, at that time, everyone was deploying to Iraq. They didn't send us as a unit anymore, as an entire unit. They would just send the batteries. Mike Battery would do this detail, Kilo would do this, whatever. So it was Kilo Battery's time to deploy, but instead of going to Iraq, they were going to Okinawa on a UDP, and my staff sergeant sent me on that. I don't know if he was looking out for me or whatever, but it's just what had to be done. I had to go. It's still exciting, because I'm young. I was 20 years old and about to turn. I turned 21 in Okinawa. Like a week after we deployed to Okinawa, I turned 21, which is great because so many people got demoted, got punished for underage drinking. Because out there, man, it's just everyone's drinking. But luckily, I made it I was 21 in Okinawa, and my experience in Okinawa was very different from everybody else's, because as an armor and I was an attachment, I was with the battery. So I didn't belong to Kilo. I didn't belong to technically anybody. And the new unit that we went to was 312. So I kind of didn't exist, and nobody was accountable for me. So I was attached to headquarters over there. Once I was attached to headquarters in 311 and 29 Palms, and then I got attached to Kilo as their armor. But I didn't have a staff sergeant. There was nobody was my boss. And I was in charge of all the weapons. And I had 2 custodians. So once we got to Okinawa, from Kilo, I got attached to headquarters over there at 312. And then I had a staff sergeant there, but also he wasn't like always on my ass or anything like that. So I just managed my own weapons, my own cage, did my own thing for almost the entire deployment. It was very interesting because I didn't PT for like 6 months, which fucked me at the end, because at the end they made me take a PFT out of the blue. I'm like, fuck, I didn't PT. I didn't go on run. I went like run on here and there, but I did a PT and I almost failed. That was like my first time really hurting on a PFT, where I'm like, holy shit, if I didn't push any harder, I would have fucking failed. But anyway, I had to retake a PFT later because I just did so bad when we got back to the States. But my experience in Okinawa was great. Again, because it was almost slightly like a vacation. I got to see Japan. We went to Mount Fuji, trained there. While they trained, I was at the armory, and I had to manage, take care of the weapon. It's just interesting because it's still you're not allowed to go out, and you still have curfew if you're not an NCO, right? You had to be back by, I believe it was like 10 p.m. But we would sometimes stay out. There was ways to stay out all night and sneak back into base without getting in trouble. There was one time I was super drunk, right? I was really drunk, and I got in a fight for some reason. I didn't even remember what it was about, but it was my fault. I was so drunk. I swung, and my depth perception was off doing a 2-hit combo, but it didn't reach the guy's face. That's all I remember. And the next thing you know, I got, I'm on the floor. And I wake up and I got like a, black eye. That was my only fight that I had in the Marine Corps. No, that wasn't my only fight, but only fight in Okinawa. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Everybody, it was a good time. I think we went to, went to Thailand. That was one of the craziest experiences as a 21-year-old, that never really left the United States. And Thailand's a great experience. The culture over there, everybody's just very friendly. They're just there to party. When you have, young Marines, they told us, if it's too good to be true, it's a guy. Like shit like that. It's just this, like, wow, what the hell are we going into? Because everybody would hype up Thailand when I was in Okinawa. So we didn't know where we were gonna go. We were either gonna go to Australia, or Thailand, or even Philippines. Somewhere in the Pacific. And we went to Thailand, and then so they hyped that up. What would happen is that we were in Thailand. We were in this. It's like in the middle of nowhere, in a forest, in the jungle, and they had rice shacks. The locals would come out and set up rice shacks for us, and each one had a different restaurant. It's like kind of makeshift kitchen, and really good food for like pennies, 75 cents for probably the best food you'll ever eat, like in Thailand, that I know of at that time. But when we had Libo, we only had one Libo a weekend. We went out to Pattaya Beach. Pattaya Beach. We went out to Pattaya Beach, and man, all right, so when I went out, we explored the city. You go to, I never really got to party in New York. Being 21 now, at that time, I went to like club, and that was my first experience. And I went to this really crazy club. Like it was like behind a restaurant. When you walk in, it looks like a regular restaurant, and then the host would take us into this underground, and you go to another lower level, and you go through this tunnel, and you go through a door. And when you open that door, it looked like an internal cave. Like it didn't make any sense. It didn't make sense that was there behind it. So what the hell, And it was like a cave, but it was like an underground club, and just music blasting, bunch of people, just everyone having fun. I was drinking, and we were always with we always had a group of Marines with us, or at least one, right, buddy program. But at that place, we were with a good amount of Marines. Something was like alarming, and like dizzy. So I was like, I gotta go, I gotta get out of here. And everybody had girls with them because it's so easy. Even lame brains could pick up girls there, So everybody. I'm like, once I said, I think I gotta go head back. Everybody wanted to leave anyways, They just wanted to leave because everybody had girls with them. So they all, we got on a bus. So one of my buddies' girl had like a scooter that we had to put on the bus, and we all had girls, and I was just like, but it was a crazy experience because I didn't want to like be a party pooper, downer, or anything like that. But also I didn't want to be like I'm fucking drugged. I did tell them though, so they were like, all right, they cared, and they were like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. Well, it's very interesting because who the fuck would want to drug me? And I think something got swapped. I don't know, but 100% I was like roofied or something, man. As soon as I got back, I passed out. I just woke up in the morning. I'm like, holy shit. And luckily we didn't get, I don't know, because we didn't get piss test for till we even got back to the States, which was like months later. So even if nothing showed up, I wouldn't know. But then at the end of that deployment is when I was at the armory, and I remember just got an email from my Staff Sergeant Chevy, and he goes like, in the email it said, you want to go to Iraq and be IED targets? And I'm like, what the fuck? Hell yeah, And that was my call, like my chance, because it was after that deployment, I only had about a year left, one more year left in the Marine Corps, and I really wanted to deploy. It was like, just out of all the stuff that I experienced, the training, and Okinawa, I really wanted to go to Iraq. You know, it's just like that thing, you know. I remember as a young Marine, it's like to get a car, you know, the combat action ribbon was like, I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted it. And I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, I finally got the call. And what it was something called truck platoon. And truck platoon was a platoon made from, they pulled all the Marines from different units, a bunch of misfits. From headquarters, you had like mortar T, armory, supply, non-infantry, you know, and we got together. They put us together, and we were the truck platoon for 2-7, an infantry battalion, and we drove them around in Iraq, and so we got to train with them. I came back from Okinawa, and went right to. Got attached to 2-7, and we started training for 6 months, and you know, and that's where we deployed to Iraq. But during that training in truck platoon it was very, again, so interesting because it's not your normal Marine Corps experience. In our barracks, truck platoon had the 4th deck where there was nobody there, and it was like everybody knew that deck was wild. Because it was just truck platoon, and we would drink all night. It was just our platoon, which is like maybe 30 to 40 Marines, and our gunny, our platoon sergeant, and our platoon officer, commander, Lieutenant Lawless. During that time, all we did was train and drink. It was a party every night up there. Man, we got wild. We would always do something crazy, but one of the craziest nights, we got a little too drunk, and one of my Marines, one thing escalated to the other. I grabbed a bottle and I smashed him in the head. I thought that the bottle was gonna crack, like just like the movies, right? But it didn't. It hit him perfectly at the hard part of the end of the bottle, and it just, you just see blood splashing on the wall everywhere. He got kind of dazed. I'm like, oh shit, this guy is so tough. He got out of his daze real quick, and then he punched me in the head. He punched me in the face. I don't know where he punched me. Everything got broken up. He had to go to the hospital to get stitches. Next morning, I went to his room, and I'm like, yo, bro, I'm fucking sorry, you know? And I see he has stitches on his head, and he also has a cast. And I'm like, fuck, I'm done. We just picked up corporal. Like maybe a week ago. And I'm like, I'm fucked, you know? I'm fucked. And we're gonna deploy in a month. In 1 month, that cast, like in my head, I'm like, I'm fucked. I just put out a corporal out of commission to go to war. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, what happened to your hand? He's like, dude, you got a strong head. When he punched me, he broke his fist. And the joke was that when he punched me, I did a kung fu block with my head and broke his fist. So that was, as much as how crazy that was, we didn't hate each other. Obviously, man, I was off the chains. Like, I look back on it, I'm like, I'm fucking nuts. Like, but they're all nuts too. He knew that I didn't mean to go to that extent. There's no excuse for anything. But I'm just saying, it was a fight. That's not what I planned out in my head. I remember it was like, I'm like, holy shit. We kept everything in house, and me and him had duty every other night. So he had 24 hours. Then I replaced him we did that till maybe 6 days before we deployed to Iraq, because they wanted us to have some family time. He's like, all right, you guys had enough. But every night, to our first sergeant, after a few times, first sergeant's like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? Why, because it's just me and him rotating as the NCO, head NCO, changing off of duty. He's like, what happened? So we fought, first sergeant. He's like, each other? And We're like, yeah, so he's like, that's what he was, you know, that disappointed him that we fought each other instead of, you know, someone else or something like that. Iraq was crazy. And I'm sure that, you know, everybody had their own experience, but for me, it's just insane. As a young man, young Marine, I don't know, I viewed things very differently. And I saw what other men can do to other men, right? And I think a lot of people back at home don't really understand it, what the real world is like. People will say, war is not the real world. I disagree. I think our society, like here in America, is not the real world. It's very well organized and safe until it gets penetrated and dismantled. That's the real world. In the beginning, it was very exciting at the same time, and miserable. I was attached with the line company, and I was there, you know, I drove the 7-ton. We would go from Camp Fallujah to outside in the villages for, I think our operations were like 7 to 10 days. So we would go out for 7 to 10 days and come back to base for about a day or two to shower, call home, eat chow, hot chow, and re-up ammo, and then head right back out. Unless we had to like shoot, you know, do some other training, and then we would stay like a day extra. But anyway, so that's what we did. We would go out to the villages or to the AO, area of operation, and we picked a house, told the family, whoever lived there, that they had to leave, and we were taking over this house. We gave them money, and then we would stay there for about 2 to 3 days, no longer, because the longer you stay there, we're gonna get fucked up, you know, we're gonna get attacked. Set up security, sandbags, you know, fast. We set up the trucks for security on the perimeter, and then put up sandbags on the roof. Set up the guns, and then set up Marines on the roof. And we would rotate squads. Would do security on the roof, and then another squad would patrol, or two would patrol, and another squad would rest. And we just keep rotating out like that. My first time out, the first day I went out with the line company, after we set up security, you know, I'd never been shot at before, but that was my first time being shot at, and I was in my boxers. I had a flight suit on, which zipped down all the way, and I still had my boots, luckily, on. Everybody else was like naked, not naked, but you know, we were all comfortable. We just set up security, and we just got to the house. We're kind of relaxing. I'm with my buddy who I hit in the head with the bottle. He was my brother, you know, because we've been in firefights throughout that whole time. We were just chatting. He was like laying down, and next thing you know, you just hear all the cracking and bullets flying. He said that I put on my flag. I just geared up so fast. Everybody was still gearing up. And so while everybody was still gearing up, I just put on my jacket and my Kevlar, got my rifle, went up to the second deck. Man, I just felt like I was gonna get shot. You know, it's just that feeling. And I had no target. Didn't know where it was coming from. There was that feeling also where it's like, you know, will I get in trouble if I shoot at no target? I didn't know the rules, you know, it was like kind of still new, and not a single round went out, only incoming. My staff sergeant was fucking pissed. Our staff sergeant Steger, he was so fucking pissed. And that's when it was my first day there, out there with the line company, not theirs. And yeah, he was so fucking pissed. He made it clear, put fucking rounds out. He didn't say to anywhere, but he was so fucking pissed. Not a single round went out. And we learned from that, you know, because for everything, we fucking destroy shit. Fuck shit up. Like, you know, with good intent, you know. There was another time I was just taking a piss out in the backyard. My other, his name is Smith, Lance Corporal at that time. He was EASing too, so he only had like a few months there, and he would leave. I was taking a piss. And then he came and he was taking a piss next to me, and he laughs. He goes like, "Look at that family." The family was just, everybody was just running away from something, as if they knew something. And we're like, "Oh fuck." next thing you know, it's just machine, like, incoming again. That was my first time actually shooting back, you know. So we ran to the front, machine guns are going out, we're shooting. Kind of, you just shoot. You just gotta shoot back. That was my first time, you know, shooting back. I'm like, holy shit. This was like, you know, we're fighting ghosts. That's what, I think that's one of the best way to say it, because, man, sometimes you just don't see them. And sometimes you do, you know. My real fight was, I was on the 7-ton behind a 240. We just did a battalion op. We pushed everybody forward. We're clearing a part of the town out towards the river, and then Navy SEALs or whoever were at the river, and whoever we pushed, they would get in contact with them. They would wait there, and we would push everybody down. One platoon destroyed this vehicle. Okay, they just fucking murdered them. Got to see, like, you know, they blew their brains out. Just lit up the car, and then when they took out the bodies, it was like, I believe like they said one of them was like 16 years old, young kids, you know, and maybe a guy, I don't know, but it was like 4 of them. So 4 dead bodies, brain in the back. I had pictures, you know, we took pictures of big chunk of brain in the back, just heads. 240 blew them up. They also had RPGs and AKs and some grenades in the car. So we had, my platoon, we had to destroy it. The combat engineer would go out with one team. They went out in front of me. I was on the 240, just providing security for, you know, for a few hours. And as they went out, they were going to do a controlled det and blow up the whatever they found in that car, and just blow it up. We don't need it. As soon as they blew it up, man, we got attacked again. And that was my first like real combat experience, and it was just intense. I just laid out, so you know, muscle memory. It felt like I was an outer body experience. When people say outer body experience, I totally understand. It's like, I was, not that I was in control, I was totally in control, but it was like all training, just muscle memory. Boom, I 200 rounds already, you know, just laid it out there. I remember seeing the belt was getting shorter. Everything was happening so fast. I would see my ammo can. As soon as it went out, put up, load it, racked it, boom, right back. I remember I was just so impressed with myself. I'm like, holy shit, good fucking job. But after the fight, my legs were just shaking because adrenaline was intense. You know, rounds were popping. Never been this close, you know. And then you see guys running, and you're just trying to mow them down, and it was intense. It was intense. And it's funny because I'm not a machine gunner. I went to machine gun school. That's why I was behind the machine gun. And they were making fun of the other Marine because that was his machine gun, and he didn't get to shoot it yet, his own machine gun. And I popped that cherry with, you know, that machine gun's cherry. And they're just, you know, giving him shit for it. It's like, hey, you let the pogue, you know, pop the cherry of your own gun, huh? And it was just funny. There was so much brass on the floor. And when we're patrolling back out, it's funny because I was like, for some reason, I'm such a boot, like, you know, in my mentality. Somebody was like, one of my buddies was like, hey, you know, you have the police call, pick all that up. I was like, really? You know, because I would think, you know, because you don't want to leave anything behind, you know. So I was like, really? Like a fucking idiot. Such a boot, you know, to think that there was fucking mad brass. There was so much brass. But then, you know, they laughed. And they're like, hey man, that's fucking good job though, you know. But anyways, yeah, that was my first real one. After that, you know, you have sometimes Apaches flying by or Cobras. You like kind of want them to go away because you want some action. Once the helos are up, they're not going to attack. They won't attack you. Not with them, you know, not with air hovering around this. I'll be like, oh man, go away, let them. And that's what we did, because we would just patrol. We had 2 or 3 objectives. One was intel, go around houses, talk to people and get intel, or go to the houses and search. and you know, make sure everything's up. You know, they have one AK and nothing crazy, or just go out and draw them in. Just be targets. Just kind of just patrol, just show presence, and that was fun too. I mean, we did that. That was like always a thing. Like you're just gonna patrol, and you might. There was no line. Like you know, there was no line of defense. There was it's just all around, and nobody's in uniform. You don't know who's gonna. You don't know who's who. One guy's like, you know, maybe shoveling, farming. Back then, I heard that, you know, if you see somebody shoveling, you gotta shoot them. But, you know, you can't. It's pretty crazy to do. It's crazy because even I forgot which platoon it was, but at night, a kid snuck up and threw a grenade on top. It's just insane, you know, like you don't know who the fuck is gonna do something. Another experience, I mean, when we're on the roof, I wasn't on the roof, I was downstairs. And one of my other buddies, man, the snipers were just, they were good, you know. I think they were good, I guess, because they would hit. My buddy I believe he was standing, if that's what he told me, but man, he got fucking knocked right in the chest. Boom, fell on the floor. We didn't know what hit him. Luckily, you know, his SAPI plate took the, you know, broke the shot. Big bruise, but it was a sniper round right on his chest. More than IEDs or stepping on something, for some reason, I always felt like getting sniped was more scary. I guess also stepping on something too, because when you patrol, you don't fucking know, man. It's just something's gonna fucking blow up. All of it, I guess. And that was every day. When you just, whether you're driving or walking. I got off the line company and I was driving a truck for convoy, for security. We cleared the route, you know, it was Viper. They cleared the route, they said. So, you know, it was cleared and supposedly there was no IEDs. My driver, I was an A driver or vehicle commander. And so we were pulling a down Humvee and we had to make a U-turn. And it was like a narrow dirt road. And with burns on the end. I had a 7-ton pulling another Humvee, and the other combat security was, you know, they made the U-turn first. One vehicle went, I'm waiting, my vehicle's waiting. One vehicle went, another vehicle went, and then it was our truck. So we had to make like a 5-point turn. I don't know how many it took. And there was a Humvee behind us. Like, so we had a convoy, right? When my 7-ton finished making the U-turn, and we passed where the other Humvees went. I believe our truck was just heavy, and the pressure plate we set it off, and a daisy chain. You just hear. It's a weird experience. I mean, you don't know what just happened, but it's just like dirt everywhere. Just everything went black. My driver, Dreamer, he was just yelling, fuck, 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 fuck. You know, I just followed SOP, you know, but I told him to get the fuck out of the kill zone. He's pressing on the gas and the truck's not moving. So it's like, you just hear it. The blast knocked the gear into neutral or something like that. And it wasn't going. I saw that, it was on N. So I'm like, you know, I just pressed the button. I'm like, fucking get out of here. You know, I'm like, go. And we drove out, you know, 300 meters out. Or 500 meters, whatever the SOP was. And I said, you know, I got out of the truck. I see tow cable wrapped around my top of the turret on the truck and shit's all over it, you know. 7-ton is strong, you know, I had plates and good protection on it. So we were good. But the Humvee that was waiting for us to pass got fucked up, you know, and we had four of our guys in there. They all got peppered, shrapnel. One Lance Corporal Garcia as chills. He got hit hard. He got hit hard, and we had to call in medevac. That's, you know, my first time seeing, you know, losing one of our Marines, like, you know, so close. The helo couldn't land. Set up another spot. Can't land there. Fucking, you know, it's very stressful. What do you call it? He had a collapsed lung. So I docked it what he could for him. Man, it's just so stressful because you want the helo to land already. Like, just come down. but obviously couldn't. But eventually it did. We packed the truck. I had two of the Marines, that 2 or 3, we squeezed them in the cab of the 7-ton, and we just raced back to base. We ran back. It was just the quietest. It was like 4 or 5 of us just jammed in there. We're just quiet, and I'm flooring it. We're just driving as fast. They don't go fast, so it was like I'm just focused on getting back. As soon as we got towards the gate, we didn't even slow down. We just, you had to pop a flare for saying, we're fucked. We got fucked up. Popped the flare. They opened the gate already. We radioed it in, and we're just like racing to the hospital on base, Camp Fallujah. They were fine. I mean, the docs saw them. They had a lot of shrapnel, but nothing, no vital. They weren't bleeding out too much, or they're just bleeding. But because I remember looking at it, and I'm like, fuck, man, just blood, but not like a main artery or something like that. That was gonna kill them. But obviously we had to get them help as soon as possible. We dropped them off. We went back to the motor pool. We went to debrief, and right away, our sergeant was like, "Yeah, he didn't make it." It's pretty fucking, I believe 160 casualties and 8 KIAs at the end of deployment. And then I don't know how many we lost in after that, falling like flies. People that were in 2-7, I have a buddy, he's a sniper, who I met, he saw me on TikTok and do one of my videos, and he was one of the sniper team that was with us. And he messaged me. And so he would always report back. He would tell me, like, hey, so-and-so just fucking kill him. Like, constantly. It was more than 8. We had 8 KIAs, and it passed that. It's fucking insane. If you're not setting up security, if you're just on your rest, you rest, right? But it's like, how can you rest? It's like 100 degrees. And I was just laying there on the floor. It's dirty, dusty, and it's like an old farm village, and everything's just nasty, right? But you're just miserable and you're hot, and you have flies, so many flies just on you and coming off. You just like, there's no point of even trying to swat them out. You just kind of learn to deal with it. Just looking at the ceiling, and then you just hear incoming a mortar, like boom. And then our first sergeant was with us for some reason that time, and they call him Captain America for some, and you just hear it. Like, I'm just already miserable, I'm just like laying there, just trying to get some rest. I'm not sleepy. It was daytime, but it was our time to rest. You better rest, because you're gonna patrol for another 4 to 6 hours, sooner or later, or be on security. Laying there, and you just hear a mortar land fairly close, and they know me. They normally don't hit. At this time, I'm already numb. Like, they're not gonna hit, But our first sergeant came out with us, and he was like, you just hear, incoming, take cover. Like, he was like freaking, like, I don't know about freaking out, but he was, he was calling the right moves. But anyways, I'm just like, fuck. I just grabbed my flag, I just put it over me, and just like stay there, looking at the ceiling, just thinking, they're gonna hit, I'm just like seeing if that. I just remember imagining if they actually hit and the ceiling just collapsed on me. So that's why I just put the flak on. Nobody moved. Everybody else is just like continuing reading a magazine. First sergeant's like yelling, "Take cover!" Everyone's just like, just like nothing. Oh, mortar. Yeah, good luck. Let's see. Let's see if they actually hit. Maybe we're just being complacent. I don't know, but I just remember that it was just. I think we were just so miserable. Like, we're about to leave. Everyone's packing up. We're finally no more operations for 2-7. However, there's an army unit that was close by us, and that army had control of this one city very close to us. They lost control. And it was like overtaken by Al Qaeda. So Fox Company had to go in, and so while everybody was back at Tent City, like no more operations, they're just chilling out, barbecuing, and transitioning back. We still I had to go back out, because of the Army. I remember just saying like, fucking Army, you know, like, God, these motherfuckers, you know. Yeah, we had to go back out there, and I was the lead vehicle. I had a minesweeper, and had this lieutenant from that company. He was a bitch. He wasn't a good leader. Everybody hated him. This was my first time meeting him because I wasn't even part of Fox. I just got attached to him because like they needed a driver. Okay, fine, I'll go, right? And my other boy, Velasquez, was with me from truck. That's his company though. That's who he was with like pretty much the whole deployment. And so it was just me and him from truck platoon. And it was like fun because you know, he's one of my best buds. And until this day, I just went to the Marine Corps ball with him. You know, his last ball, he's still in. He's retiring this year or next year. We got to the house, to the patrol house, and we had to move our trucks to position them to block for any suicide bombers to come in. So we pushed there. Everybody was already inside the house. Me and him, we were outside, just chilling out. I remember just saying, we gave I gave him a cigarette. We were smoking. And it was just nice. It was nice because, you know why? It was an overcast, and the sun wasn't brutal. You know, it was just nice and kind of cool. And as we were smoking, you just hear, boom. We looked at each other, and I was like, "Is that incoming or outgoing?" He's like, "I think that's incoming." And then you just hear the guns go off. I'm like, "Oh fuck." You know, we just lit our cigarettes, so I remember putting it down. I'm already numb. This is like near the end of the deployment. I'm like, fuck, you know. We just got to the house, and I put the cigarette down. We're gonna go back into the house, but one of the Marines came back. He was a saw gunner. He came out, and he's like, hey. Everybody was already getting like, geared up again. We were already geared up, so when we went in, the saw gunner come out, and we went out with him. And I don't think it was my buddy, I don't think it was Velasquez's first firefight. I think he had a firefight once before, but it was ours together, you know? And like, oh, it's pretty cool, you know, that I get to, one of my best buds, I got to fight with him. So we're hiding behind it, you know, we're taking cover behind a Humvee, and the saw gunner was just laying down rounds into this marsh. There was a soft, the Humvee had a soft trailer, like a trailer with a soft cover. I look down, I just see my cigarette, and I'm like, oh, a cigarette. So I'm like, just like, you know, taking cover, I'm like telling Velasquez, I'm like, shoot, you know, and he's like, pom, 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 he's shooting. I'm like, yeah, you know, just, by this time I'm just out of, you know, I've been to multiple firefights, and so it's just like, you know, and then he went across to the other, to behind the soft cover trailer. I went over and I told him like, hey, come back on this side because, you know, this is fucking soft cover, you know. He's just hiding me, you know, on the bullet will go right through it. So anyways, he came back on my side. I was about to shoot. And I'm such an idiot because my rifle, the Humvee has a slant at the, you know, like a hatchback in the rear. For some reason, my ACOG was obviously pointed out, and my muzzle was on the Humvee though. And my buddy, he's like, hey, your muzzle. I'm like, oh, fuck, you know, because I was about to shoot the Humvee. Anyways, I just remember that moment. I'm like, such an idiot, you know, and then just lay down more fire. I remember that fucking Lance Corporal, he yelled at me because I think he hasn't been in a firefight for long, but he was like, throw the cigarette out, you know, because I was just like, you know, just being kind of belligerent a little, you know, just with a cigarette and like popping on. There's like nobody there. It was, you know, there was rounds coming in, but we couldn't see, they're hiding, you know, and I was just, you know, just laying down rounds. That was the last firefight I've been to, and when we went back into the house, we still had to take cover because there was some pop shots coming around. But when we were back in the room, their gunny was weird. He was weird. Like, he was very, like, cocky, right? You meet a very wide range of people in the Marine Corps, right? In the service. And he was like talking to me like, he's like, what do you think about Fox? You know, we get down, like, you know, we get down. And then my buddy is like, oh, he was with Echo, because Echo we were getting fucked. Like, we were always getting to firefights down south. They were operating more up north, not too much, you know, contact. But we would have a lot more. We had the most contact throughout the whole unit battalion. Yeah. So all my buddies said, it's like, oh, he was. I didn't say anything, you know. I was just like, yeah, very cool, you know. But my buddy's like, oh, he was with Echo Gunny. And he was like, oh, so you know this shit. And I'm like, you know, it was very interesting, fun. And that was my last firefight. Got back to Tent City. We did what we had to do, patrol the area. I think the Army came back and whatever they had to do, and then we got back. And Tent City was fun too, you know, because all you did is like just get hyped up to get to leave, man. Then went to Ireland because we had a change plane. I don't know, right? There's a layover. We lay over in an island, and I forgot who it was. It was a captain or someone, and he said he put his card down and he said everybody gets 2 drinks on him. I got fucked up. It's just 2, like a beer and a half. You know, I was fucking drunk. We all went back onto the plane, and we had to piss so bad. Everybody, the plane couldn't leave because there's so many Marines online to go to the head on the plane, and they're like, all right, you know, everybody fucking sit the fuck down. We gotta leave, you know. And we had to pee, so we had water bottles, and we're just like, everyone's just pissing in the water bottles, and that shit overflowed. It wasn't enough water bottles. Oh man, it wasn't enough water bottles. So you're just pissing on, like, it was fucking mayhem. I think we're well hydrated, so it's just like clean piss, right? It wasn't like, you know, bum piss, you know, homeless piss. It was clean. We were hydrated. We had, you know, we weren't like eating junk food. I remember just like my rifle was on the floor in the plane, and I just remember there was piss on my rifle. I'm like, fuck, disrespect. That's the only thing I remember saying. It was like, I disrespected my rifle, you know. I like, got some on it, and then we got home. As soon as I got back, I wanted to get one more thing out of the Marine Corps. They gave me so much, you know, all this training and experience. I put in for laser eye surgery, and I went back to 311. Got, you know, and our Lieutenant Colonel, I believe his name is Lieutenant Colonel Fairfield. He was awesome. He was like, yeah, sign me up, you know? Because normally you would have to have at least 6 months before you get laser eye surgery. And you also have to have a certain job to even qualify. Did it for me, you know? Especially I'm getting out. There was no need for me to do that for me, but they signed off on that, and I got my eyes corrected. As soon as we got back from Iraq, I bought a car, like a used car. It was my first car, and just used. It was like $8,000. One time when I had to go back, my parents lived in California at that time because my brother was deploying again. He already got out, and he was a sheriff. He was working at the sheriff department. He got recalled. He was part of that group where everyone got recalled in about 2007, 2006, during that time. So as soon as I got back, he had to go. And that was like his 3rd deployment. My parents moved from New York to California just to be with us for that year while my brother was, before he went to go to Iraq. So I would go to my parents, and then we had to go to the field early morning, so I had to go back to base. When I was driving back on the 10, it was raining, going back from Marietta to 29 Palms, and it was just pouring. You know, it's odd that, you know, when it pours, and out here. And I was just reckless. I remember it was like 5 a.m., drinking a Monster, music is blasting, and I'm still going like 75, 80 miles per hour, like an idiot. It was definitely like some kind of recklessness that I know that's not my behavior. Like, that's not me normally, but I just remember. So I'm just driving, and then I hydroplaned. The car spun, and man, I rolled. The car rolled about 2 or 3 times, and boom, landed back onto the shoulder. Car's just trashed. There's like brushes and bush, everything inside the car. Everything's just, I'm like, holy shit. You know, I'm trying to do a self-check if I got stabbed by something, and looking for my phone to call, I guess, 911. I don't know. I've never been in a car accident. So I was like, call them, like, yeah, I just crashed. But the odd thing that I saw was that, you know, it was still 5 a.m. There's not many cars out, but there were still cars passing by. Nobody stopped. Nobody saw, I just kept passing by. The police came first. And then, I told them I'm good. They had to leave because they had another accident. And the ambulance came behind, and they're like, I'm good. I don't need to. Then one of my buddies, Nam, he came and he picked me up. I was in a debate because I either had to ship the car back to New York or drive it back. But now it's just, that's all that. There's certain things that you remember. And I remember waking up my first morning, being out. Like, I didn't have to return, but, like, it wasn't leave. It was very different from being on vacation or leave, right? When I woke up, it's like, there was this feeling of no guidance, of kind of an emptiness, and kind of lost. What now? And I just remember waking up that morning because it was great. The day before was great. You're home, and I went. It was a party, and then you wake up, and you're like, now what? And just drank every night. I drink, like, I would go out and fight. I remember just going out prepared to fight. Like, I would just go out expecting to fight. Not that I was looking for a fight, but I just knew, that we might fight. Leaving boot camp was kind of sad because you do the same. You're with that platoon. You're with those guys for months, and you're doing every day, every single minute, every second. You're with them. And it was kind of sad that it was over, but you're happy, you're happy that it's over, and you're like, getting to the next level, excited, but also sad. And I think that's what it was for the 4 years. Maybe civilians might feel like college. I don't think so. I graduated from college and it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? But yeah, leaving the Marine Corps it felt like it was all falling apart, or like there was no stability. There was no structure. The VA was also giving me a lot of medications. So I just didn't like how they made me feel, a lot of antidepressants. My grandma passed away at the same time, and that's why I felt like everything was just like crumbling. Being on and off, trying all these different types of medications I had trays of medications, some clonazepam and stuff like that. They give you everything. I had friends who took some medications. It's just crazy, They're like, "Whoa, you got that?" Like, And I look back and I think just felt like suffocating while still breathing. What was going through my mind is just, I think it was guilt. Not for what I've done, more of a guilt that first Marines, whether I knew them or not, I just understood, man, what they went through too, and I experienced. I don't think my experience wasn't nearly as bad as many Marines out there. They have no fucking idea. They have no idea what's really out there. I told the real world is out there. What we have in America is technically fake. We made it, and not fake in a bad way, but a great way. We created this society where we don't have to experience the real world, and that's crumbling. We want to prevent as much real world out, and make it nice and comfortable here as much as possible. But yeah, experiencing that, it was a reality check. In order to feel comfortable, I would drink. And just recently, I learned how to, stop all this. And recently, like in the past 5 years, paranoia was crazy. I look back and I'm like, yeah, I was pretty paranoid. I don't know if anybody else notices, but it's weird that we have more veterans committing suicide versus World War II, Vietnam, and there was a spike starting from the 1980s, and it pisses me off. I mean, I'm pissed because as much as we are sad as a society as a whole, that wow, veterans commit suicide. What is it, 22 a day? That's like those organizations, and there's so many organizations, but nobody is talking about why are so many veterans committing suicide today versus previous wars, and I strongly believe that it has to do with the medications that we're taking, and if you see, like from my own experience, we're just loaded up with medications. They'll give you everything and anything just to test out. There's no real science instead of actually talking about the cause. Why are World War II veterans not themselves at that time versus us? I care more about the veterans, people who serve, than the actual military. I love the military, but the people, and if I see my own people themselves, it's a fucking problem. And if you just think about it, well, what's causing this? Well, I think it's a mix. Yes, definitely the medications, but also what our diet is like now. I'm putting out a new show on YouTube and stuff like that. But one of my main messages to veterans especially is to keep up with their health. And I don't think many veterans are. I have a buddy, and some of my Marine buddies, we have a reunion once a year. We like to meet up, whether it's in Texas or last time it was Seattle. And before that, a few years ago, we met up in Houston, and one of my buddies was just overweight. He's just fat as shit. And there's nobody fucking saying anything. And that's what we like. I think we got into a culture where we can't hurt people's feelings. My jaw dropped of how fat he was, because he was drinking every night and just mindlessly eating, like a zombie. And I brought it up, and I was like, you gotta lose some fucking weight, you're gonna die. And nobody fucking told you that, that you're fat. And I'm not joking. I'm not trying to hurt his feelings. We talked about it that night, I remember. And then 2 years later, which was earlier this year, he calls me, and he's a man, so he knows, the reason why I knew I could talk to him like that is because he's a fucking Marine, and I never seen him like that. I know he's a champion, He calls me and he goes, you're fucking right, bro, thank you. It took me 2 years to process that information, but he was trying to tie his shoe. He told me he was with one of our other buddies. They were in California, and he couldn't tie his shoe because he was just too fat. He was mad enough to call me and say, hey, you're fucking right. Since then, he lost about 70, 80 pounds. I know him, he's not like that, He's not one to be just, to let himself go like that. And, I gave him a good speech, you're fucking, the fuck, Now he's running marathons. Last time we were in Seattle, he ran a marathon with my other buddy. But they're my brothers, I'm not going to stand by and not say anything. And the same thing with this. If I know something, if I say, hey, listen, there's a connection. World War II veterans are not experiencing the same suicide rate. Vietnam, but what's going on here? And we could put the pieces together, and we just got to talk about it. And somebody's got to say something. And I think more people got to investigate it, at least have a discussion, instead of just saying, oh, sad. Oh, sad. Oh, another one died. Sad. Pray for him. Click like for this. Whatever. It doesn't make any sense. We're fucking weird. We became a weird society. Somebody say something, and let's investigate or talk about it and be like, hey, maybe there's better stuff to do besides taking medication. How about changing your diet? You feel 100% you'll feel better, not right away, but after you do it. It's absurd. But most people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it because it's so uncomfortable. And we live in such this fake society, this safe haven, that even the slightest, being uncomfortable of hearing that we're being lied to about pretty much everything is uncomfortable. To change the lifestyle with the food pyramids, it's all false. I don't think you should be eating that much bread. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for carbs to be the main thing that we consume. That's probably sprayed with folic acid and chemicals to pesticides. I think for whoever knows, that what I do on TikTok and YouTube, I do short brief stories on veterans, I guess veterans now, Medal of Honors and Silver Stars. You can find me at military, MILITERRY, Terry. for all social media. And that new show will be, it's going to be a different take on these short forms stories. It's going to be very entertaining, hopefully, and a little more, definitely a lot longer and more detailed on what these battles and Marine soldiers went through. Be uncomfortable. You have to be. I think we've gotten so comfortable of doing nothing, of not so comfortable that we're not even talking about something that might make others feel uncomfortable. What's happening to our country right now is not just a trend. It's not a phase that we're just going through. Something's happening, and there is a big fight. I think the only thing I need to say is that we need to prepare ourselves, because it's going to happen again. Whatever this pandemic thing is, it's going to happen again. And it's once in a lifetime thing that's going to happen again, which is weird. So that means, yeah, prepare yourselves. You have to. You got to be uncomfortable, exercise, change your nutrition. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. Our water is filled with chemicals. Our food is, the cholesterol is, and saturated fats all a lie. I'm not trying to be like this conspiracy theorist or whatever. It's actual truth. There's actual backing that what we're consuming is what's hurting us, and it's all tied together. It's all connected, and not everything. The people who say I don't want to be political, they say, oh, I don't want to be political. That's no longer a choice, because what they have done is that the politicians, they put their hands into everything, whether it's climate, what you eat. It's all political now. It's all political. The schools, everything, what your kids are learning, is all political now. So to say that I don't want to be political, I don't like talking politics, then you don't like talking about life, because they put their hands in everything, and what's happening is the result. This is the result of what's happening right now, and you can't deny that.